All right, and I'm back. So, we had the second to last episode of WandaVision, and I gotta say, we finally got some answers to a lot of things. I thought the answers were stupid. Let's get into it. Welcome to the newest episode of SDW.
Super Dario World!
Alright, so I'm having some technical difficulties again. Isn't this fun? Isn't this, just straight up a good time for everybody, particularly me, who may or may not be going nuts over all of this. I switched some stuff around. I'm helping somebody out with some equipment, and so I had to switch some stuff around, and now I am dealing with the consequences of it because I built a Frankenstein's monster, and now I kind of have to find a way to make it work again. But it's fine. I think I got it to work. So, important. So, before I get into this, let me give you a quick reminder that any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me at Dario the Show on Instagram and at Super Dario World. Streaming Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, normally on YouTube and on Twitch at Super Dario World. However, tomorrow, I will not be streaming. Tomorrow is my birthday, and so I'm probably not going to be in town, and so I may pre-record something now. I may do like a quick little thing at my house in Mexico. It depends on how much time I have and all that stuff. So definitely won't be streaming. I'm not sure if I'm going to load anything. We'll see how it plays out. Can't see the future yet, but my day's looking kind of busy, so it's not likely. Let's just say it's not likely. I'm also working on some other stuff. Yeah, like I said, I've been helping out some people with some stuff, and I had a crazy new idea that I want to test out. You know me, I'm a tester. I like testing things out, so I'll probably announce that soon. It's gonna be very different. It's not gonna be a visual thing. It's probably just gonna be audio. It's a new, just purely audio type of podcast, and so that one will be way easier to do. So I'll keep you posted on that stuff, but it's stuff that I've been working on this weekend. But let's get into this, because like I said, I wasn't a particular fan of this episode. So, I mentioned it last week. This is the second to last episode of WandaVision. We only have one episode left, and so I had high expectations for this one, really high expectation for this one, and it was disappointing. I expected this to be, like I said last week, I expected this to be the climax of the story, and it wasn't. I'm guessing they're saving the best for the end. I'm hoping they're saving the best for the end, but here we finally got a whole bunch of answers. I didn't really resonate with most of them, so I'll break that down. Really quick here on the chat, EFAR 2021. Thank you for the birthday message. I appreciate it. It's still tomorrow, but I appreciate the sentiment. All right, so let's begin. So, quick breakdown of the episode. We begin with seeing how Agatha came to be, and basically she was in Salem, Massachusetts in 1693. Apparently there was a whole bunch of witches there, and apparently she was a very naughty witch, and her coven, including her mom, who was the leader of her coven, decided, you know what, you're a naughty girl, die, bitch. And unfortunately for them, she was like, haha, yeah, I tricked you because I can actually absorb your powers. And so she's absorbed their powers and turned them all into like old prunes, and they died. And then her mom had a great idea. You know what? I just saw my daughter suck the magic out of our entire coven. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to shoot more magic at her. And guess what happened? She died. Because you know what? And she deserved it. First off, for trying to kill your kid, kind of a dick move. Also, because you kind of raised her, so it's kind of your own fault. But also, because you're an idiot. You literally just saw your entire coven die using the exact same attack, and you thought that you could do it. You're kind of an idiot. I'm guessing she figured she maybe could overcharge the battery or something, but still, you kind of deserve to die. Anyway, so we see that she gets turned into like the old lady prune, and this is how she gets the pendant that Agatha is kind of known for. Anyway, that brings us to modern time, I guess. It's not sitcom land anymore. But basically, what we understand from here is that Agatha sent Wanda a vision that explained kind of who she was and where she's from. So here's where things start kind of going off the rails for me. So I'm going to be coming back to a few things from this conversation, but basically, Wanda discovers that she has no powers for some reason in that basement, and Agatha does, and she explains like, hey, dummy, I have a whole bunch of protection spells here. Duh, your magic doesn't work here. Only the magic from the witch that was cast works here. So, very important stuff here. This is because this confirms stuff. All right. If, according to Agatha, only the magic of the witch that casts works, that means that Wanda is not a telepath, and she does not have telepathy or telekinesis, because her powers apparently are magic based, right? That makes a little bit of kind of sense. If she were psychic, if she were a telepath or she had telekinesis, her powers would still work down there because that's not magic. Here, very specifically, Agatha says, my only the witch that casts the protection spells can cast magic. Wanda can't do anything, meaning that her powers are magic based. It is confirmed. I will come back to this later because to me it seems kind of relevant. I know other people say it doesn't matter, but to me it matters. Anyway, here Agatha starts kind of monologuing and basically explains like, hey, you did something crazy here and it's magic. You combined a whole bunch of spells working at once, and we learned something pretty interesting there. We learned that first off, Agatha did not have anything to do with anything except the final episode. The final episode, the one where she's sitting in the director's chair, the one that's Modern Family, and it makes sense. A little bit forward, it makes a little bit of sense why she was the only one, why she directed that episode, but she kind of has nothing to do with anything else except the things that we saw her meddling with a little bit, particularly Pietro. She confesses that she was basically pretending to be Pietro, and it was a necromancy. It was kind of an illusion that she sent her way, and she says that she has no idea how Wanda did this. No idea. She was just attracted to the power that created it. So there you go. We learned that the big villain here, or one of the big villains here, kind of has no idea how the hell this happened. She has a theory, but she has really no idea, and she wants to figure it out. So she wasn't a creator of any of this. She's sort of a passenger, but who knows more than she's letting on. Anyway, moving on. Then Agatha's like, you know what? I kind of have your kids kidnapped, so how about we walk through your story so we can figure out who the fuck you are and how the fuck you did this? Because she's very confused. She doesn't understand how the hell this happened. So, and as you've seen before, she's kind of a powerful witch. Anyway, moving on. Also, Toro Rosso and Mob Nasty, appreciate the birthday messages. Thank you very much. Moving on, we go behind door number 1. And in door number 1, we enter to Sokovia. And here we get to see a young, the parents of Wanda and Pietro, who first, now I'm confused here. I'm not exactly sure if the guy sells DVDs or if he stole a suitcase filled with DVDs. I'm not sure, but I have a lot of issues with these. All right. So we also get to see young Wanda, young Pietro, and apparently this is her, listen, I'm not great with kids, but I think she's between 8 and 10. She looks very young. Let's say between 8 and 11. I don't think she's a 12, 13. I don't think she's a teen yet, but she still looks pretty much like a little girl. So I'm going to say this is Wanda at 8 and 10. So this is where shit kind of stuff's going off the rails for me. And I am 100% aware that this is the reason why people think I'm crazy. Like I notice things and I care about things that most people do not give a fuck about, but that is not me. And so with that in mind, let's move on. So first off, there's a kind of a firefight going on outside in Sokovia, and the mom's just like, ugh, and she closes the curtains. Okay, so, first off, very important. If there's a firefight going on outside of your house, you don't just close the window. You get down, you search for cover, you do a whole bunch of stuff. You don't just turn around and movie night, whatever. No, you turn off the lights and you protect your kids. So just that's off the bat. Maybe Sokovia's so fucked up that they're used to it, but it's kind of like still bad parenting there. Anyway, so they sit down, so they put the DVD in and they start watching the movies. And like I said, I know that this is gonna sound crazy, but this is how my brain works. So I'm trying to figure out what fucking year this is. I'm trying to figure it out, and it's really annoying me because they have DVDs All right, DVDs. They have the full season 1 of Malcolm in the Middle here in DVD. Now, for those of you who don't know this, Malcolm in the Middle came out in the year 2000. That means that season 1 ended in 2001. That means that it has to be at least 2001 for it to come out in DVD. And they have all these DVDs here. So, it has to be at least after 2001. The first time we saw Wanda was in 2015, Age of Ultron. So, let's try to do the math here. Oh, also, Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I'm sorry, not Mary. That's somebody else. That's Ramona Flowers. What's her name? Elizabeth Olsen is 18. She was born in 89, so she's 32 years old right now. So the actress is 32 years old. Let's give her kind of like 5 years, give or take, of how old Wanda is. So let's say she could be between 27 and, you know what, 35. So between 25 and 35. That's the range how old she is, right? Now, so far, well, until Endgame, every single movie in the MCU has kind of come out at the same year in the real world. I mean, the events in the movie happen kind of in real time with things that happen, you know, on the real world. So let's say the first Iron Man came out, I think it was 2010. No, like 2005. I don't know. But it came out like in the same year. Like I said, Age of Ultron was set in 2015. Infinity War was 2018 and stuff like that. Except Endgame. Endgame does a time jump. So, Wanda has a 5-year time jump. So, they came back in 2023. That means it was 2018. So, she should be the age that she was in 2018. I know this is confusing. I'm sorry. So, theoretically, the character Wanda should be the same age that she was in Infinity War. Give or take maybe 1 year, but I don't think so because she supposedly came back the same age. So, in 2018, how old was Wanda? Giving ourselves the range between 25 and 35, let's say 30. That means that at the age 30, at 30, she got vanished, and that was 2018. And here she's around 10. That means that between 8 and 12, let's say 8 and 12. So that means that you have to take 20 years away from Wanda's life, right? 20 years. So from 2018, take away 20 years, that's 1998. Malcolm in the Middle did not exist in 1998. So that was wrong. So it has to be even further a bit into the future. And this is where things really start to annoy me. The DVD player, the DVDs, all this stuff. Now, I grew up in a third world country. In kind of a civilized part of the third world country, kind of a nice part of the third world country. DVDs. I remember the very first DVD that I saw in my life was The Matrix, and we didn't own it. It was at a friend's house. And so that was the very first DVD that I saw. A TV show, a DVD TV show, I don't think I saw until very much later on in life. Also, the fact that they have originals DVDs is insane. Third world countries, they tend to have like pirated stuff. Like if these were pirated stuff, I'd be like, all right, that makes sense. And also, DVDs have regions. All right, DVD players have regions. Region A is for America. Region B, I think, is Europe. Region C, all this stuff. And these appear to be in English in Region A. So there's a lot of stuff that bugs me here. And I mean, I get it. It's stupid. It's insane. It's one of those things that's like, really, Dario, this is what you're complaining about? Yes, that's what I'm complaining about. Because I have no idea what time period they are. It should be after the 2000s, but except that Wanda would be way too old for that. And DVDs should not be in that region. It should not be like, they should not look brand new. There's so many things wrong here. So many things wrong here. And I get it. Does it have anything to do with the show? Probably not. It just bugs me and I have to complain about it. I'm sorry that you had to follow this rant. Anyway, the point is every single thing in the scene was wrong. Ugh. The timeline is a mess. The timeline is a fucking mess, all right? I'm sorry, but it is. It's a mess. Anyway, let's continue. Let me just see this real quick. Toro Rosso. So witches apparently exist in the MCU. Didn't know that. Actually, technically they do. I mean, we know that magic exists in the MCU. I made this mistake before because it's weird, but I forgot. Honestly, I blanked out on what's his name? I'm blanking out again. What's the name? Benedict Cumberbatch, Doctor Strange. So Doctor Strange uses magic, and so technically magic does exist. And so if there's wizards, there's witches. So technically they're a thing in the MCU. And maybe Captain America gave him the DVDs when he went back in time. Yeah, it's possible. Listen, it makes no sense, okay? But fine. You know what? I'll forgive the art department for this one. I just needed to get it off my chest. I needed to get it off my chest. I'm sorry. It's the type of person I am, and I notice these things, and it's one of those things in the back of my mind. It's like, how the fuck do they have DVDs? And so many DVDs. DVDs are expensive. Like, a DVD player is expensive, particularly back in that time. Particularly if you're in a war-torn third world country. You're in a war-torn third world country. There's bullets flying outside, and you're gonna sit in front of the TV and watch a fucking sitcom? Are you kidding me? I think you'd have bigger priorities in mind. But, whatever. Fine. We're retconning everything this episode. Fuck. Anyway, moving on. At least, I think this is the Betamax, and I think, no, is it a VHS? At least this one looks like it should be there. It should have been VHS, to be honest. Well, whatever. Fuck it. Doesn't matter anymore. Also, that TV looks old as fuck. That is a very old TV, a very old, very shitty TV for a very nice, a modern piece of technology, which for that time, which would be a DVD player. And I don't know about you, but I remember very clearly that in my house, we kind of upgraded the TV before we got the fucking DVD player. Unless the dad is really a criminal and he steals DVDs and then sells them, which honestly doesn't seem like a very good, criminal profession or very lucrative, considering that he's stealing DVDs with Region A in a country that should not be selling DVD players with Region A. All right, let's move on. Next. So as they're watching TV, a Stark Industries bomb lands in their house, effectively killing the parents. And Wanda is like, "Oh my God, what are we supposed to do?" And she reaches out, and or either the missile was a dud, or she uses her magic powers to kind of destabilize the missile, or to basically neutralize the missile. It's not exactly clear. It's not clear to us. It's not clear to Agatha. It's not clear to Wanda. So they decide, all right, I kind of have a few theories here. Let's move on behind door number 2. And door number 2 has a big, fat, ugly Hydra symbol right in the middle of it. So we're moving on to the terrorist days. So Wanda walks into basically a lab. And I'm going to skip a bunch of stuff here, but basically this is the staff that used to belong to Loki. And in the middle of, if you guys remember the first Avengers movie, Loki had the staff, and in the side of the staff, there's the Mind Stone, because, you use that to control people's minds and stuff like that. Anyway, and here's again where things start to annoy me. So as Wanda walks into the room, the Infinity Stone inside the staff decides, "Oh, looky here," and it starts floating, and it walks off, and it floats all the way up to Wanda, and then it kind of breaks. Well, as Wanda touches it, it kind of breaks and reveals the Mind Stone that's inside that crystal thing, whatever. And this kind of like blows Wanda away, and this, so she starts kind of like looking straight into the Mind Stone. Now, there's a lot here, and these are one of the logic things that bug me about the MCU. So, this is the Mind Stone, right? Mind Stone. It controls people's minds. It controls the minds of being. Some might say that it would give you psychic abilities. And now I know you might not remember this, but in episode 4 in this series, they say that Wanda has psychic powers, that she has telekinesis and telepathy. So they say she's a psychic. Now, if she got her powers from the Mind Stone, and her powers are telekinesis and telepathy, makes perfect sense. All right? Makes perfect sense. Logical. However, as we learned in the beginning of this episode, her powers are not psychic. They're magic-based. So, let's try to do a few mental gymnastics here. Let's try to explain how the fuck this is going on. And I believe the next image kind of helps explain this. As she's looking into the stone, she sees this kind of like godlike being with horns, this horn being floating towards her. Now, it is possible. Now, I gotta tell you, I kind of got excited here for a second, and I was like, oh shit. This is what I think is happening. The Mind Stone might be connecting Wanda from this dimension to the Wanda in the world of the X-Men, to another dimension. I honestly thought that's what was happening, and I was like, this is actually pretty cool. It's kind of what's happening here. Turns out I was wrong, but I'll explain that later. Anyway, so doing mental gymnastics here. One of two things happened, and I'll explain the second one at the end. But the first one, and it's the one that I kind of understood. It's the one that makes you wonder if that's what's happening first. The first thing that's happened that could be happening here is that the Mind Stone awoken something in Wanda. So Wanda had something inside her the whole time, and it awakened her mind, for her witch powers. She was suppressing them, and she awakened her witch powers. And everybody thought, oh, this is telepathy or telekinesis, but it turns out that it was magic. It's all right. So the Mind Stone might not have given her powers. It might have awakened the powers that she already had. And the reason why I kind of thought this is because, well, it goes a little bit with my theory of this is really House of M, or B, it could be Wanda from another dimension, or it could be the Mind Stone connecting Wanda's mind with Wanda from another dimension or another timeline. Okay, so far could work. I don't know how the Mind Stone gives Pietro super speed, unless it's like he opens up his mind for speed, for the Speed Force. I don't know. Point is, that's how it worked for Wanda, and Pietro doesn't really matter right now. So that's the best mental gymnastics I could do for the moment. I'll probably come back to this a little bit later on. Next, Wanda kind of passes out, and we learn from the scientists that they really didn't see what happened. They were like, what the fuck happened? And the security tape looks the same, and so they don't really think much of it. They're like, oh yeah, the stick gave her psychic powers. So, all right, okay, fair enough. I mean, she walked into a room, a light shined, and then she woke up with psychic abilities. Okay, I would think the same thing, probably. Anyway, moving on, we go behind door number 3 now. And the door number 3 leads us to, I believe, it's after Age of Ultron, into the Avengers facility. And she's watching Malcolm in the Middle, and Vision walks in, and basically, we have a very kind of like sweet scene between the two of them. We kind of see them interacting a little bit. Now, personally, I would have preferred if the Mind Stone interacted with Wanda a little bit more. Just, you know, because in the previous scene, we just saw the Mind Stone react to her. Now, it would have been cool if she reacted to her here. It kind of would have made sense of why. I know why they didn't do it. Because they wanted to show Wanda falling in love with Vision and not have it be confused as to whether or not the Mind Stone, whether or not it was the Mind Stone manipulating her, or she was actually connected to the Mind Stone and not exactly Vision, whatever. Point is, it's a nice scene. You kind of see how Wanda is sad because of the death of Pietro, and Vision is like, well, I've never really felt anything, so I've never really been heartbroken, and so I don't know what loss is. Anyway, Malcolm in the Middle is funny, but whatever. It's a sweet scene. Let's say it's a sweet scene. We didn't really see much other than their relationship, and next, we go behind door number 4. And again, here's where things kind of start going off the rails. So we see Wanda show up at the sword facility. Now, we've seen this scene kind of through security tape. And basically, long story short, we learned that everything was faked. So Wanda shows up there, and she's actually very polite to the person out front, even though she didn't have to. And the security tape where we see her kind of like opening the doors and stuff is just her being impatient and being like, fuck this door, I can open it by myself. But she's very polite. She waits for everybody to give her access to things. She goes and meets with the director. And again, here we kind of have a bizarre conversation. So basically, the director shows her like, oh yeah, there's Vision's dead body. And I mean, can a robot die? I guess, whatever. And she's like, oh yeah, we're taking it apart because it's a very expensive piece of machinery. And we kind of want to take it apart. Because reasons, science. And Wanda's like, what the fuck are you doing? And the other guy's like, hey, you have the power to bring him back to life. Why don't you? And Wanda's like, nah, I'm not going to do that. And to me, this is weird. How the fuck this guy knows that Wanda has the power to bring him back to life? Now, as we've seen in this show, Wanda does have the power to bring Vision back to life. It's confusing, but she does have the power to at least bring something that looks like Vision back to life. And that makes sense because, again, we know a little bit about Wanda, we know a little bit about the MCU, we know a little bit about the Marvel Universe, so it makes sense. However, how the fuck does this guy know or think that she has the power to do it? Like, this guy, again, episode 4, I think it was episode 4, he said she's a psychic. She has telekinetic powers. She has powers of telekinesis. What would make him think that she has the power to bring somebody back to life, or a robot back to, or a robot that's powered by the Mind Stone and Infinity Stone back to life? What makes him think that she has the power to do that? Now, it could be a guess. because she did have the power to destroy said Infinity Stone, but it's kind of a wild guess. To be honest, it's a wild guess. Also, if she has the power to bring Vision back to life, wouldn't you want her on your side more than anything else? Instead of, you know what, fuck that guy. Fuck Vision. Let's be friends with the chick who can actually create fucking Infinity Stones. But no, whatever. It's like I said, it's kind of a weird scene. And Wanda gets pissed off, and so she goes over and gets close to Vision, and she wants to basically see for herself, which is perfectly understandable. Now, kind of perfectly understandable because sometimes, you know, you this is kind of why funerals exist. You need to go and see that they're dead for yourself. It gives you a form of closure. However, Wanda did kill him before, and then she saw him come back to life, and then she saw Thanos kill him. So, I mean, it happened right in front of her. So, she should be pretty set on the fact that he's dead, but whatever, you know. And she wanted to grieve. Also, this guy kind of makes a reasonable sense where he's like, yeah, you can't. Wanda wants to bury Vision, which is insanity. And I actually liked that the director pointed out the fact, like, yeah, we're not burying $3 billion worth of vibranium on the ground. Like, you're crazy, lady. Get out of here. So you can say goodbye. You can come here and bring him back to life if you want, but we're not burying him. This is a kind of a very, very useful, valuable piece of tech, and it belongs to the government, doesn't belong to you. So, all right, okay, fair enough. I mean, he is just a robot. Anyway, moving on. So Wanda sheds her last tear for Vision and walks out of there and gets in her car. And in her car, we see that she has this note and or this envelope that she opened up. And then she drives all the way to Westview. And we see Westview that's kind of like a piece of shit little town. And we see some of the characters from the show who are just there living their shitty lives. And she drives up to this empty lot. And in the empty lot, she stands in the middle of it. She opens up this letter. And in the letter, we see that it's a property deed to that particular piece of land. And it has a note from Vision that says to grow old V. And we see the granted to Wanda Maximoff and Vision, property address, blah, blah. So basically, we see that it's a gift from Vision to her. And I have a lot of things that bug me right here. Oh, by the way, okay, and this event is what kind of causes her to have a whole bunch of grief, and she loses it, and this causes, let's say, an explosion of chaos magic. Let's go back a little bit. Let's just go back a little bit. So, to this note. Oh, actually, even before the note. I have a lot of issues with Wanda being so controlled throughout this entire situation. Because it doesn't make sense. What they're trying to portray here throughout the entire show is that Wanda's crazy. And that's fair, because in the comic books, Wanda's crazy. In Age of Ultron, Wanda's kind of crazy. It's been well established. Wanda's crazy, and that's kind of one of the cool things of the character. She's a wild card, all right? I like her because she's super powerful, but she's a wild card. She's unreliable in many ways. So that makes her interesting. Here, she just looks like a grieving widow, all right? She's a grieving widow, and it's perfectly understandable. Her dude's dead, all right? It's sad. Somebody she loved died, and so she's in mourning. Understandable. She's super controlled the entire time, and she walks away. She says her goodbyes, and she doesn't act. Well, I mean, she's a little bit violent, but I mean, when you're an Omega mutant, you can be a little bit violent, I guess, and nobody's gonna say shit. And so she walks away, drives away very calmly. So these are normal reactions from normal human beings. It's not really a reaction from somebody who's on the brink of insanity or who should have already been losing it. Like, what has been going on to Wanda is something that happens to maybe somebody who's completely broken down mentally or schizophrenic because she's not exactly sure of what she's doing in certain times. So this whole retconning thing, while I appreciate it because it's like, oh yeah, it's not Wanda's fault. She's kind of been messed with by somebody else. It's a manipulation from the dudes from S.W.O.R.D. At the same time, it's like, it doesn't make sense why the grief here in this particular moment breaks her. Like, this should have happened with her brother. This should have happened when Vision died. It didn't. It happened afterwards. A really long time afterwards. And just to make another extra point here, this note makes no fucking sense. No fucking sense. Again, it's a retcon. So, what are we to understand here? The Vision bought this property for them in the middle of a shithole little town that Wanda's probably never been in. And he's like, oh, I'm going to buy us a house. Now, I don't know if you guys know this. Buying a house without telling your significant other, kind of a bad idea. Also, and I rewatched Infinity Wars because this was really bugging me. In Infinity War. In Infinity War, the last time that we see Wanda and Vision interact before, Vision gets shish kebabbed, the last time they're interacting, they're meeting in Scotland. Vision was returning to America because he promised Stark. Wanda was going to go back to help Captain America. They were meeting in secret because they are agents of opposite sides. Now, you're telling me that so Wanda is technically a wanted terrorist at this point. You're telling me that Vision bought a fucking property in the middle of Jersey under his name and the name of a fucking terrorist. So one is or at least, a wanted criminal. A high priority wanted criminal named Wanda Maximoff, who has engaged in acts of terrorism before, and the Vision, who is a robot who I'm not even sure if they can own property. So you're telling me that also, the last time we saw them, Vision was trying to convince Wanda that, hey, this kind of is working, so maybe instead of me going back, we can both stay here. In fact, the words that he's saying to Wanda is stay, stay. Now, they were not in fucking Jersey when he said stay. They were in Scotland. So he was saying, let's stay here. So let's stay out of America. They would probably go out and explore the world, but no, they're trying to retcon this whole thing. And now I know what you're thinking. Dario, what if maybe it was, Vision bought it for her to grow old in, and so he left it in his will. So first off, I did not know that robots had wills, and this has something that's been really annoying me, because supposedly robots don't grow old. They don't grow old. So this whole note of him to grow old in, I'm assuming he's saying together. All right. I don't think somebody buys a house for somebody else and be like, you go out there and grow old. Like, you just go there by yourself and puts a heart on it. That just seems kind of crazy to me. Like, I mean, I get it. It's a robot, but it still seems kind of crazy. But anyway, so you're telling me that in his will, he left the property deed to a place that he was expecting them to grow old together, but it's in his will, meaning that he's dead. So meaning that after death, he gave him the deed to a house where he was expecting for both of them to grow old in. It makes no fucking sense. None of this makes any fucking sense. And it really annoys me. It really, really annoys me because so far the mystery seemed kind of cool. It's like, oh, where are they going to go with this? They're going the worst possible fucking directions and they're retconning the whole fucking thing. All right. It makes no sense. Like, think about the last time we saw them together. They were dating, they were in Scotland, and Vision was planning on going back to America, except at that moment, he kind of took a risk and said, hey, just stay. Let's just stay. This thing between the two of us is working out. Let's just stay here. So you're telling me that what looked to be kind of a spontaneous thing was actually planned, and he already had a house in fucking Jersey, in a country where she is a wanted criminal. You're telling me that's what happened? Are we retconning the things that much? Seriously? Yeah. Anyway, let's just say it annoyed me. But let's continue on with other stuff that annoyed me. Moving on. So she unleashes this weird power, and I don't know why everybody's really making a whole lot to do about her doing the little Matrix move, but whatever. It was funny. It was really weird of why things were coming out of her chest, all the chaos magic, and she basically builds this world, and she rebuilds the Vision. Now, this is stuff that, again, has been annoying me about the Infinity Stones. It doesn't make sense that the powers granted by the Mind Stone would create this. This is something a Reality Stone would do, right? This is the Reality Stone. It affects reality. Also, fun fact, because I recently been watching the Justice League, the animated show, not the movie, the animated show. I went back to watch it. Because, again, it's one of those things that's like, this seems familiar. Over 60% of the plot of this show, or at least the premise of this show, is stolen from 2 episodes from the Justice League animated show. And I'm not going to tell you exactly what happens. I'm not gonna ruin it, but let's just say, first season, it's a 2-part episode, and they kind of stole the plot from there. If anybody cares to know which one it is, I'll let you know. But yeah, they stole the plot from the Justice League. Let's just say the essence of it. But it's not an original thing. Psychic creates an alternate reality and stuff like that. It's fine, except that she's not a psychic. All right. Anyway, moving on. Wanda's like, oh my god, what the fuck happened? Why is Vision here? And now here's questions that I have. Is this the Vision that we saw previously? So is this the Vision's dead body that was in Sword headquarters that she did not take? We saw her leave. We saw that she left Vision's body there. So is this a copy? Did she make this from scratch? Did she teleport the other body here? Did she actually... Is she powerful enough to not only create a vibranium human human sentinel or artificial intelligence and the Infinity Mind Stone, or not? Or what the fuck is happening? Because I believe that Wanda is capable of doing this because, like I've mentioned before, she's an Omega level mutant. Except here in the MCU, she's not an Omega level mutant, and she's not even a psychic or a telekinesis. She's a witch, apparently. But it's very confusing. And if she did not steal the Vision's body, then why the fuck is Sword here? Like, why is Sword not calling in the Avengers? At first, I thought, you know what? Honestly, I thought Sword was doing shady stuff. I was like, hey, Sword's doing something kind of shady here. That's why they're not calling in the Avengers, and that's why they're trying to keep things on the down low and stuff like that, and that's why they're being so aggressive, and that's why they want to get the Vision's body back because they know that it's so valuable and it's got stolen and they don't want to say that it got stolen because they were doing illegal experiments on it or against the Sokovia Accords or whatever. But it seems like she left with the body, and more than that she didn't leave with the body, and more importantly than that, the guy was pretty open about what they were doing. So if you're doing something shady, you don't kind of openly admit to it. The guy, when Wanda was talking with the director, he openly admitted to it. Yeah, we're experimenting, we're taking the vibranium, we're doing all that stuff. So I'm confused. What's the motivation here? Is the motivation here that the Vision's body disappeared afterwards? Or is it that he saw, oh my god, more vibranium and I want it? Or is it that he legitimately thinks that Wanda is a terrorist and insane and a threat? I'm very confused. Like I'm very confused. There's so many motivations here, and really one kind of destroys the other. I'm confused. But let's move on. So Wanda sees this and is like, "Cool, Vision's back," and she decides, you know what? I'm gonna lean into this particular fantasy, and they share a kiss, and that's when things kind of come back to the real world. And Agatha's like, interesting. I know what you are. And she poofs out of there. And Wanda hears her kid screaming. And so she runs out, and she kind of runs a little bit funny. You can, you can tell she's not an athlete, which is funny, which makes sense. Scarlet Witch is not known for her athletic prowess, which is, like I said, makes sense. You know what? She's a method actress. Anyway, let's move on. And we see that the kids are being choked by magical lassos, and we get to see how Agatha looks, like how she actually looks, in her witch form. And Wanda's like, I'm gonna kick your ass, bitch. And if you don't let go of my kids. And then Agatha is like, you don't know who you are? You're the Scarlet Witch. Oh, so you're an entity that transcends time and space, blah, blah. I thought you were a legend, a being that could create things out of nowhere. You're the Scarlet Witch. And here's where I kind of lose it. So you remember back when I said that there were a few possibilities of what this could mean for Wanda, when I said that she actually saw kind of like the Scarlet Witch, and I thought that maybe it was them being connected to a different dimension. Turns out, nah. Turns out I was wrong. There was another possibility. And, well, there's actually two possibilities. It's possible that what the Mind Stone did was awaken the Scarlet Witch, which apparently is a timeless being that existed inside of Wanda, and or it's possible that the Scarlet Witch was inside the Mind Stone, and the Mind Stone transferred the Scarlet Witch into Wanda. It's not exactly clear. What bothers me here is that there is a timelessly powerful elemental being that transfers itself into a mutant, or what should be a mutant. Now, I know what you're thinking. this sounds a lot like the Phoenix Force. This sounds like really like a lot with like another redhead psychic in the Marvel universe. Like, I mean, like freakishly a lot. I mean, she's psychic. She has psychic powers. She's redheaded. Who the fuck could this be? And it's a being, a force from space, but that transcends beyond time and space, and it's immortal, and it's beyond powerful. And who the fuck? Yeah, it's the fucking Phoenix Force. They're making Wanda into the Phoenix Force. Now, as I mentioned before, Wanda is a badass on her own. She is an Omega level mutant, and she's an Omega level mutant not because the Phoenix Force entered her, not because an external force entered her. She is the Scarlet Witch by her. She created the Scarlet Witch. She is the Scarlet Witch. It's her own powers. She earned those herself. She perfected those herself. They were God-given in a way. What you're doing here is you're belittling that character. You're saying like, oh, you're not that powerful by yourself. You had to have something else that made you that powerful, which is bullshit. Also, you're kind of ruining the whole mutant thing here, because now it's like, okay, she's a witch, not a mutant. She's a witch, and it's because another witch from somewhere else, or an elemental force, or who the fuck knows what the Scarlet Witch is. But apparently it has to be something. Here's the confusing part. Apparently it has to be something from Earth, because Agatha has heard of it. And before Avengers, the first Avengers movie, the Mind Stone had not been on Earth. And so if the Scarlet Witch was inside the Mind Stone, and the Mind Stone was in space, and it barely came to Earth, then it doesn't really make much sense for Agatha to know about this. And so it has to be that the Scarlet Witch was something from Earth, from witch lore, apparently, and that nobody had ever heard of except for Agatha for some reason. And so it was already inside of Wanda, and the Mind Stone awoken it. It's very confusing. This whole thing, it's a fucking nightmare. Some might say it's a clusterfuck. And it annoys me because, again, you're stealing the storyline from the Phoenix Force, from Jean Grey. And so what does this mean? What's going to happen with the X-Men? What's going to happen when you have to actually introduce maybe the Phoenix Force? It's going to be like, hey, that sounds kind of... Hey, wait, it's the same fucking thing. It's the same story. And you're ruining it. And you're ruining... All right, so they're ruining many things. A, they're ruining the X-Men. B, they're ruining mutants, because now I really don't understand how you're going to introduce mutants here, and how you're going to... Or unless you're just going to say Scarlet Witch was never a mutant, she was always her own thing. So again, you're ruining the storyline there with Magneto. You're ruining the storyline with Jean Grey and the Phoenix Force. They're ruining so many fucking storylines just with this episode. They're retconning out the fucking wazoo. They're ruining other storylines. And now, honestly, nothing makes sense to me as to why the X-Men should be here. Why mutants would come in, or at least what is their link to Wanda? There's nothing there that makes any sense whatsoever. Like, the only thing that maybe made a little bit of sense to me would be the dimensional thing, or like that the Mind Stone connecting through dimensions, or that we're living in House of M and we don't even know it, and so this whole thing's kind of breaking Wanda's mind and stuff like that. That could have made a little bit of sense. But now all these things, bullshit. It's bullshit, because it turns out Wanda doesn't have any mutant powers. She has witch powers, which is something completely different. Her powers really don't even come from her. They come from a timelessly powerful being that we know nothing the fuck about. So it's not even her. So she's not special. She's just a vessel. She's basically a car that's being driven by somebody else. So I thought it was complete and total bullshit. Like, to be honest, I was really liking the show. I like the mystery aspects of it so far. But this thing is a true clusterfuck. It really annoyed me. I hated a lot that happened in this episode. Retconning the whole story that we saw. We saw the movies. We know what's happening. You're trying to play us for fools. Now, and they're ruining other potential storylines, and I get it. Maybe you can create something new and something better and something different. But yeah, you kind of already screwed up over some of the fan favorites. Like, I don't know about you guys, but one of my favorite X-Men storylines has to do with the Phoenix Force. And one of my favorite Wanda storylines has to do with House of M. And one of my favorite Magneto storylines has to do with both of his kids. And so now it's all, like I said, it's a big giant clusterfuck, and it makes no sense, and it's stupid, and they're retconning every single thing, and I hate it. I hated it. The performance is really good, though. This chick, great Agatha. Really, I respect that. The moment between Wanda and Vision, pretty great, pretty heartfelt, pretty special. I respected it. Wanda's performance throughout, like Elizabeth Olsen, like I said, she's fantastic. And the story's just ruining it, or at least to me. And like I said, this was supposed to be the climax episode. The next one, we only have like what, 20, 30 minutes tops left, and they still have to have a fight with Agatha. There still has to be some kind of resolution with Vision because we don't know what the fuck's going on there. There still has to be some kind of resolution with the sword agents. There still has to be some kind of resolution with Rambo, who may or may not be having powers. And also, are her powers, what we saw have blue powers, and her eyes were blue and she could see like the source code, which was weird. But we also saw witches at the beginning of this episode have blue powers. So is she a witch now? I'm very confused. So there's a lot of questions that need to be answered, and only one episode left to do it, and that episode should have the big bad fight, and I don't see how they're gonna do it. To be honest, I don't see how they're gonna do it. Now, the one thing that this has, that the one like caveat here, is that we will have it is confirmed that Wanda will appear in the next Doctor Strange movie, and so maybe this is all a build up to that movie, but son of a bitch, I'm confused. I'm very confused. And I hated a lot of the stuff that I saw. And if I'm wrong in any of it, please let me know. Like, I appreciate it when people point out that I'm wrong about things or I'm misremembering stuff. But so far, I don't think so. I don't think so. And so let me just see the chat here real quick. Danny, love the shirt. Thank you. Sky gave me this. She gave it to me for Christmas. And my shirt says, I paused my game to be here. I loved it. It was great. Toro Rosso, I think she created vibranium when she made Vision. Wasn't Sword tracking vibranium within the hex in an early episode? Yes. It's confirmed. Sword was tracking Vision through the vibranium, and for some reason the vibranium let him know how many people were in there. It was really weird. Like I said, this is not making much sense. But so she did create vibranium, or she transported vibranium from outside. I don't know. The point is, according to Agatha, the Scarlet Witch has the power to create. All right? So, she's God. All right? The Scarlet Witch is a God-level being because she created vibranium and an Infinity Stone like it was nothing. Like, she doesn't even look tired. She's just like a little bit confused and it's like, oh, cool. So, there's a being there that created an Infinity Stone. She created an Infinity Stone. And every single thing else that comes with Vision, the AI and the super and the super being and the vibranium, and she didn't even break a sweat. So according to Agatha, a god-like being that has the power to not break a sweat when she's creating an Infinity Stone, one of the pillars of reality. Well, except the Reality Stone, one of the pillars of nature, and this bitch is taking her kids hostage. What the fuck is she thinking? what she think is gonna happen here? You want to talk about kicking a hornet's nest? Dumbass. Like, she deserves whatever she gets, to be honest, because that was let's just say a major fuck up on her behalf. Also, that brings us to another very important question: who the fuck are these two? Like, who the fuck are the kids? Are they real? Like, for a moment, again, going back to the House of End ties that I'm not really going to explain, I thought that maybe it was beings that she was trying to recreate because she lost them, and she was trying to pretend like she didn't remember, but the loss of Vision and the loss of Pietro kind of brought back all the psychosis, and so she was like, I'm going to create them. But are they real? Like, are they real? Seriously. I mean, if she can create life or artificial life and an Infinity Stone, I'm assuming she can create kids. But why these two? And why the fuck should she care? There's gotta be something that ties to these two. All right? There's gotta be something. And I'm not seeing it. And it's annoying me because I don't see how they're going to explain this in one more episode. And I don't see how they're going to explain it without retconning the story even further and making it even more stupid. It's stupid and I hate it. Because it was going great. And all of a sudden, the big reveal episode where everything starts making sense. Nothing starts making sense. Every single thing is confusing. You completely fuck up your own story, and it's stupid. Stupid. So that's where I'm gonna leave it. That's how I feel. I'm upset. I was loving the show. Wanda's like I mentioned this plenty of times. My favorite female character in the MCU. Well, not the MCU, in the Marvel universe, and they're fucking the story up. So if that's it, I'm done. That's it. I'm done. Like that's how I'm leaving. I'm leaving. What the fuck did I do? Wrong button. Stupid thing. There you go. All right. So, That's it. That's it for today. As always, any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me at Dario the Show on Instagram and at Super Dario World. Streaming on YouTube this week, only Tuesday and Thursday, because tomorrow's my birthday and I'm not going to be streaming live. But usually I stream Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday on YouTube and on Twitch at Super Dario World. Feel free to join me in the chat. I appreciate the comments there. It reminds me about stuff that I might have forgotten. And so I appreciate it. Anyway, like I said, tomorrow I might pre-record something if I have the chance, or I might do something later. I don't know, but don't count on it. Like I said, I am going to be pretty busy tomorrow. Like I said, my birthday. So that's it. I'm walking away. That's it. I'm done. As always, thank you for listening, and I'll see you again next time.